So it seems it's another Warhammer 40k relevant release week, and now it looks like we've got some new Tyranids and Abmech models. Let's talk about Kill Team Typhon, the release surrounding it, and whether or not it's looking like a good deal for the price. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today it seems that we've got more 40k releases. Games Workshop's been keeping them coming thick and fast recently, with no less than 5 40k codexes over the past couple of months, and it looks like there's no let up this week, as this week's the week for Kill Team Typhon and another couple of kill teams to go on individual release. I was interested to see what would happen with this week's releases. It did seem really quite likely that Kill Team Typhon will be coming very soon, given that Games Workshop gave us rules for the Raveners and the Servitor Battleclade along with the balance updates, though I was wondering whether or not we'd have Codex Imperial Knights as well. Seems that Games Workshop is deciding to keep the Imperial cousins at least a little way behind their Chaos counterparts. Still feels to me though that they're odds on to be just around the corner. They might literally be the next week's release after this. In any case, for the Raveners and the Battleclade, pre-orders go live on Saturday the 14th of June, so full release in stores on the 28th of June. And for releases this week, there's the Kill Team Typhon box set, which definitely will be the star of the show, but there's also the Sanctifiers and the Goremongers for the Sisters and Agents and the World Eaters respectively. The latter two are both the normal Kill Team prices of $65, £42.50 or €55 it would seem. I feel like that's maybe a bit on the disappointing side of prices for both of them, really quite expensive for what they are, as they certainly don't have quite the big array of options that Kill Team kits might have come to expect. Certainly for the Goremongers, given that there's 8 of them, I might have hoped for a bit less than that, though I'd be interested to hear whether or not you'll be picking up either of those down in the comments below. Obviously the big box release this week though is Kill Team Typhon. It looks like there have been some prices shared around the internet for this one. Seems like a good few places seem to be quoting $170 or 200 Canadian, and that does seem really quite plausible. That will put it at the same price of a standard combat patrol. So £100, €130 or 280 Australian dollars. That is quite a lot pricier than most other Kill Team sets that have come out recently, but admittedly this one always looked like it was probably going to be. They've just got extra kits in here compared with normal. In Kill Team Typhon there's 5 Raveners with their new models and the different upgrade options that you can give them. The 9 Servitor Battleclade models, basically 8 Servitors overseen by an Underseer Tech Priest. The new Tyranid terrain pieces with all these spore chimneys and things, some of it harking back to previous issues of terrain made by Forge World in the past. Another character for the Abmech, the Techno-Archaeologist, previously Daedalosus from the Blackstone Fortress sets. There's 10 more Hormagaunts for the Tyranids as well, and then all the usual Kill Team stuff, the rules and the data cards. As 40k releases go, it certainly looks like it's going to be a very popular one. Along with a few channel polls recently to talk about the Deity Chaos releases, I asked you guys how many people were looking to pick up Kill Team Typhon, and it looks like relative to normal it's really quite a big popular 40k kit. My numbers had around about 14% of 40k players looking to eventually pick up a box set of this, and that will put it far more popular than the vast majority of more recent 40k releases. Maybe the only things beating it out in recent times being the Emperor's Children and the Deathcore box. I can certainly see why as well. Loads of Tyranid players out there in 10th edition. A whole bunch of people got drawn to the faction with their nice new range refresh, and in particular the Leviathan box set. And then for the Tyranids players, new Ravener models that were fairly well received are a big draw, plus they have some fun datasheet rules. And then the rest of the box is just very Tyranid themed, so I think there's just enough critical mass here to tempt you into picking it up. As well as the new Kill Team models, there's also a set of 10 Hormagaunts as well, and then the Tyranid terrain, that again was genuinely quite well received, and the terrain kits do have a lot of draw just in their own right. Unfortunately though, I just would be very surprised if Games Workshop actually make enough of these to meet demand. The vast majority of these versus Kill Team box sets just seem to be made in unusually tiny numbers for some reason, and even perhaps slightly less popular ones like the Sanctifiers versus Goremongers still tended to sell out in a lot of places, and at least as best I can tell they don't usually generally tend to massively alter production cycles for one box to the next. It just seems very likely to me that these are probably going to be here and gone in a flash. As ever though, hopefully Games Workshop makes enough of them to allow people who want one to buy one. If they do happen to decide to do that, then feel free to check out the channel's affiliate discount retailers linked in the video description if you'd like to pick up this one at discount. There's a bunch of stores around the world that help to support the channel with any purchases made through them. Element Games in the UK for 15% off, Gap Games in Australia for 21%, Feminist Workshop in Canada for 10% off, Wargame Portal for 15% in the USA, and Taschengeld in Germany in the EU for somewhere between 16 to 20 usually. As ever, a big thank you to anyone helping to support the channel via buying through those. It is greatly appreciated. For those stores, here are the pre-order times for when the box sets go live. As mentioned though, I'll just be very skeptical as to whether Games Workshop actually winds up giving them a significant amount. Certainly if you want these at discount, I'll be there absolutely on point, but even then you're probably going to be competing against quite a number of other people. If they do sell out as quickly as predicted, I'll be ready to drop back to other discount stores and the Games Workshop web store, where hopefully they should be there just for a little bit longer, though I guess we'll see on that front. In any case, releases and popularity aside, let's talk about the content of the box. This one's named after Hive Fleet Typhon, an unusually operating hive fleet that seems to prefer to feed on worlds already weakened by war, famine or disease, using gene stealers to infiltrate them, and then devouring easy targets. They're unusually one of the only Tyranid hive fleets to prey on other ones as well. They've been active in the Tyranids expanse during the 4th Tyrannic War, and that's where quite a lot of the Kill Team things have been set recently. Apparently the narrative behind this one is the Raveners from this hive fleet are undermining the Great Gun, and expendable Servitor Battleclades have been dispatched below it to root them out. Speaking of which, it feels like the centrepiece stars of the box set are the new Raveners. They're the fast-moving and burrowing organism of Tyranids, slithering across the battlefield on a long snake-like tail. Their previous models hailing from 2010, so one of the slightly older Tyranid sculpts now, recently being seen in the Space Marine game as well, burrowing around the map and trying to ambush and grab you. The new models for these guys were pretty well received. There's 5 of them in the box, and each of them can be assembled as either a specialist or a Ravener warrior, as usual Kill Team models having really quite different funky kit. This shot of them basically shows off the hyper-adaptive Raveners, and it is possible to assemble all of them as more normal looking ones. They do have some cool and funky parts and biomorphs though, things like envenomed talons, the ability to spit venom, some extra sensory signs, and there's a great big prime one on the top left. I'd guess that when they're released separately, they'll be around about £42.50 or $65. That's what most of the Kill Teams are. Maybe the danger with these is that they could be a bit more than that due to being quite big models. For the most part, the reaction to them was pretty favourable. I think some people liked or disliked the colour scheme more than others. They're certainly painted up a bit more different and funky compared with the Leviathan ones. Games Workshop gave us the 2 datasheets for them in the Balanced Data Slate Big Digital download. The more standard set is really quite similar to the previous Ravener datasheet. Toughness 5 models with 3 wounds and a 4+ save. There are locked to 5 of them in a squad, which means there are a big 125 points to field a unit now, but you get more of them. So their melee profile had a small shake-up. Rather than having lots and lots of damage 1 attacks, they now have slightly fewer attacks, but at AP 2 and damage 2. It means they're not quite as standard at going through hordes, but are a little bit better at killing Space Marines. The bigger unit does mean that they'll be less efficient for a small unit role of jumping on and off the board doing secondaries. Then, a bit of a surprise on the datasheet front, we got the hyper-adaptive Raveners with their own datasheet. It is kind of fun though, as then you've got the basic version and the Kill Team adaptive version. These ones get a few different changes. First up, you can attach them to the basic unit, so you can create a 10 Ravener super unit if you want to. The Prime is a character and gets synapse, which is big for giving them strength 6 in melee, and you could also bear enhancements if you'd like to. Their claws are fairly similar. The Prime gets double the wounds and attacks. They get anti-keywords on their claws, so quite good at taking down monsters and vehicles. The one with the sort of venom-spitting headset, he gets a sort of boosted heavy flamer type torrent profile. The whole unit gets sustained hits 1, which will be conferred to the other Raveners if they join them, and they've got free rapid ingress for 0 CP. So basically these guys can pop up and get a very lightly charge on something nearby. I feel like out of the 2 datasheets, these ones are probably the scarier one. Those anti-keywords just means that the unit's really quite a nice general purpose threat, and the rapid ingress basically means that they're going to be getting the charge the vast majority of the time. I feel like I'd probably be more tempted to field either these on their own or with the big super unit of Raveners if you wanted to do something interesting in Vanguard Onslaught perhaps. Otherwise though, for the AMEC half we've got the Servitor Battleclade. These guys are pretty much an updated version of the regular Servitors for Warhammer 40k. They're kind of similar to the Gun Servitor and the Inquisitorial Henchman kit as seen here. Fairly similarly bulky and up-armoured with their boiler suits, everyone's favourite lobotomised cyborg horrors. It did seem a shame for the Adeptus Mechanicus not to have any sort of more standard-sized Servitor on their army roster, and this one in particular is a combat Servitor unit. It's commanded by this Servitor Underseer here, who is a slightly lowly tech priest who works with commanding and controlling for one squad, and these Servitors are seen as cheap and easy to produce infantry to send on expendable missions, as opposed to the repair crew with some gun support that we've often seen for other units. The Servitor reportedly channels motive force to the ones most in need for his squad, I guess with a great big gizmo on the top there zapping the electricity around. Here's the full squad for them though. We've got the Servitor in command. On the top right there we've got a bunch of the more standard combat Servitors, a claw type thing, and then either a flamer or a phosphor blaster. There's a techno-medic style one that's armed with a heat ray that I guess is represented by a melter gun, a command and control one, and then a heavy bolter and an arc rifle. I'm not sure how much detail they've given us on the new kit, but it seems likely they'll be able to assemble most or all of them as the regular combat servitors, as alternatives to the more specialist ones. The gun servitors might be locked as they are though, I guess we'll see on the model front. Again, price wise, when they're sold individually, there's a pretty good chance they're going to be $65, £42 or €55. That's the price for most of the rest of the kill teams out there, and doesn't seem that Games Workshop's feeling particularly merciful for the low model count ones. We've just seen that the 8 model Goremongers are still that price, so I guess that the Battleclade is probably going to be similar. If I get a chance this week, I'll do a full video on the Servitor Battleclade. For a unit though, they're 60 points. For that you get 9 models, each with toughness 4, a 4+ save, and a 6+ invulnerable save. And they're kind of brawler units that will do a little bit of damage against heavier stuff, but mainly are only going to be all that great against lighter infantry. They do have quite a lot of fun close-range shooting profiles. Between a unit of them, a bunch of strength 3 flamers, a heavy bolter, that heavy arc rifle, the melter gun profile, and the one fancy pistol from the Underseer. And the melee does actually add a fair bit of weight of strength 4 attacks as well. It seems like for 60 points they're genuinely quite a good threat that will absolutely maul their contemporaries for this sort of horde-style points cost. There still aren't really going to be too much threat to more substantial things. Their special rule allows them to advance and do an action, and still shoot in a turn in which they do an action. That applies while there's a tech priest in the unit, and the Underseer does count as a tech priest. It feels like for Mechanicus armies they're going to be competing against the battle line units, so things like 85 points for rangers, plus all the cheap small skirmish squads that they can get. Weirdly, it feels like the main thing that these guys offer is a bit more toughness with toughness 4 and a bit more damage with an array of close range shots, and all for quite a cheap points cost at 60 points. I guess they're probably going to be kind of niche, given how important battle line units are for triggering Doctrina buffs and other things, and the more sort of fast moving units that can fill other battlefield roles. They really don't seem terrible for points for the stats for 60 though. Otherwise, beyond that, there's some Hormagaunts in the box, 10 of them plus a Ripper Swarm. Generally quite well received models, a nice reinterpretation of classic Tyranids there. These ones had a lot more motion and variety in their poses than the ones that used to fall over a lot. They're quite good in game at the moment. They move fast and have lots of OC, so you can throw them towards the mid-board and swing objective points, maybe occasionally being able to bully some lighter infantry. Their damage perhaps isn't their forte compared with some. I guess they might get on well with the new Pyrovore AP buff in Theoryland at least. And then for the Admech, their force also has a Techno-Archaeologist in the box, the Daedalus model originally from Blackstone Fortress. He's quite a fun looking minor tech priest character. He functions in game as the objective support tech priest, having a deep strike aura that can mean it's pretty reasonable to field him just by himself. Otherwise he can bear enhancements for cheap and help his units with objective and action style work. Finally, for the model contents in the box set, there's the Tyranids terrain. Really quite nice to see some faction-specific terrain, and I'm sure some Tyranid stuff will be of interest given just how much focus there's been in 10th edition. Some nice spore chimneys and brood nest type things where Tyranids could be lurking away below the ground and then erupt when needed. I guess they might be spawning Hormagaunts in some way. I guess this probably won't have rules for 40k unless it's something Legends related, but looks like some pretty epic battlefield scatter terrain or something that you could use to personalise other Tyranid terrain pieces. Quite a few of these are fairly big as well. 4 points in the box, it's not really going to be standout given that a fair bit of the content is terrain that doesn't have a points cost. Overall looks like it's around about 315 points in the box. Kind of low on that front, though probably partly because it's got some very cheap Admech in it, and the Hormagaunts aren't exactly massively points intensive either. For 40k purposes, you've just got over 100 points of Admech and just over 200 points of Tyranids. For pricing and discount wise though, it broadly looks like it's quite a good deal. Going by my estimated $65 Kill Team kits, I'd guess the Tyranid terrain will probably go on for around about $60 or so. The Hormagaunts are $52 and the Techno-Archaeologist at $35. Just between that, that's $277 in the box, so it looks like it'll be around about a 39% theoretical discount in whatever currency that you work in. And that does look like it's above average for Games Workshop discount box sets. There's even more added value if you're actually going to be using the Kill Team data cards and rules and things. I'd imagine that a fair few people will be buying this for 40k, but lots of demand from Kill Team players as well, I'm sure. Overall, I can see why this box set is looking popular. Lots of fun miniatures for a faction that lots of people collect. Generally looking like a good deal in itself, though if it's super popular and Games Workshop doesn't make any, it's probably not going to help anyone actually try and find it when it's all sold out super fast. I guess for Admech players, there seems like there's at least a reasonable chance that a fair few of those Battleclades might be going on eBay. If people do buy it for the Tyranids and resell the Admech stuff, might just be an opportunity to pick up those a bit cheaper than they might otherwise be, and same for the Techno-Archaeologist. In any case though, let me know what you make of Kill Team Typhon. Do you think it's a good deal or not? Or would you be tempted to try and pick it up or not? Let me know down in the comments. Check out the channel's affiliate discount links in the video description if you do want to try and pick it up through one of these or any other 40k things. I'll leave the times where the pre-order goes live on the screen here. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming. I do tend to post new ones just about every day. If you've been enjoying the videos and you'd like to help support, then as well as those discount links, the channel also has a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support and keep these coming. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things comes next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link's down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.